The elements that make up a game and how they are presented to the player can make all the difference in the quality and gameplay. Knowing what strong suits your game has and running with it can greatly impact how good the final product to be, improving player opinions. Adding additional elements to your game is also encouraged when developing, but it shouldn't take away from the primary focus, only adding and expanding to what the original idea envisioned. Anno Mutationem brings a lot to the table, with a unique art style, colorful characters, a massive world to explore, 2D hack and slash combat with customization mechanics, and a wide arsenal of weapons for you to play with. I'd like to begin with Anno's strongest attribute, its art style. This game is gorgeous. The combination of pixel art and low poly 3D structures is a bold combination choice, and something I've never seen before. Yet Anno nails it with incredible sprite work and animations, alongside its beautiful cityscapes filled with life and bright neon lights. Tiny details are littered everywhere, making exploring incredibly rewarding, as you can find crafting items to help you later down the road, hidden characters that add more flavor to the game's world. You can peek through apartment doors and find clues for side missions, and there are tons of flyers, news articles, books, and emails that add to the game's plot or explain more about the current area you are in. The neon lights illuminate the city, giving off that nightlife atmosphere, or can deliver a sense of unease as you hang around sketchy alleyways and even an underground fighting syndicate. The way this game uses lights to show off its locations is stunning, and I could look at it forever and still continue to find new details. Hell, even the start screen is gorgeous. As colorful as Anno's locales are, the same can be said about its characters. Their sprite work is very well done, with every character looking unique, whether it's a tall blonde Hatsune Miku clone or a cyborg weapons manufacturer. They all are distinct from one another and are extremely memorable, except for the 4 versions of Sephiroth. The animations are also spectacular, as the game shows many cinematic style cutscenes from a variety of angles, giving the action sequences a stylish flair and deep moments a feel of suspense and mystery. When fighting, An moves quick with ferocity and unleashes many deadly attacks that feel very satisfying when landing. The combat itself is a bit odd. At first it feels very shallow and at times clunky. I could not get over things like the neutral air attacks ending after just 3 slashes and having no weighty finishing move, or there being no combos other than just pressing X for a basic light attack combo. That was the case until you start maxing out the skill tree and adding more weapons to your arsenal. The more you progress, the more points you get to unlock different moves that fill out Anno's combat. But the rate at which you unlock new weapons and abilities is incredibly slow, and by the time you have everything, you're practically done with the game. With that criticism aside, when you're maxed out, I found Anno's combat to be very expressive and fun to execute. You have a surplus of movement options that make An move extremely fast and are even able to execute dodges and parries in between attacks to react to enemy movements. You can combo light and heavy attacks together and experiment the best ways to attack certain enemies. You even have a super mode that allows An to transform into an edgy cyborg ninja and unleash devastating attacks while being immune to damage for a short time. Some enemies have an armor bar that, when depleted, allow you to execute an instant kill move. Except I wish they called it something else, because in most instances, it just does a large amount of damage to their health bar rather than taking them out immediately. But it can be used strategically to finish off most foes if you strategize how much health you deplete before executing the attack. But again, I would have called it something like the opportunity strike rather than the misleading instant kill. All of these are complemented by the multiple weapons An carries with her, but again, the rate at which you receive new weapons feels very drawn out and leaves you wanting more until it's too late. When fully equipped, for melee, you are equipped with a standard sword, dual short swords, and a heavy broadsword, which all vary in different speeds and damage outputs. For your ranged weapons, you have a pistol, a lock-on rocket launcher, and a charge-up laser cannon that deals massive damage. For having such a large weapon stash that you carry around, you can only equip 3 things at a time, aligning up with the 3 weapon types: light, heavy, and ranged. But you are unable to equip 2 light weapons, as you have to choose between the standard and short swords. Same goes for your ranged weapons. You can only have 1 equipped at a time, making it difficult to adapt in certain situations when fighting. You do have access to a quick select wheel to avoid the hassle of going through the menu to swap weapons, but it just feels so trivial to have to swap ranged weapons that act so differently to one another. I can understand the choice of only being able to use 1 light weapon at a time, as choosing the speed and damage output for light attacks could be a strategic choice to a person's playstyle. But for the ranged weapons, in my opinion, these could all be routed to different buttons, as they all act differently to one another, that having immediate access to them in fights could not only make them more practical for use, but maintain the pace of the fight because you do not need to keep switching when the stakes of the fight change. This isn't like swapping an assault rifle to a pistol. These are 3 unique weapons that function for different purposes. The pistol is a fast, accurate tool that can be used to take down low health enemies or quickly snipe down a drone. The rocket launcher takes a bit to lock on, but when ready, can strike many enemies at once with a decent damage output. The laser cannon is your Hail Mary, with a long charge time but covers a lot of ground and does big damage. Every ranged weapon has a specific purpose and a strategic way it can be used. Having to swap between them, even when using the weapons reel, is tedious, slowing the pace of the fight, making using other weapons not worth it unless direly needed. Let's compare Anno's weapon layout to Doom Eternal's. Yes, Doom Eternal also has a weapon wheel that can be used while fighting, but that's because Doom's arsenal is way bigger than Anno's. What I really want to look at is the HUD and the tools that can be used at the press of a button, like the grenade, chainsaw, and crucible. id Software acknowledges the fact that these weapons are used for specific situations and doesn't want the player to have to stop and constantly select weapons when fighting. You walk into most fights with the 2 weapons you are most comfortable with and access to all your tools to help you continue using those weapons, cutting down on switch time, or helping you get out of a sticky situation by causing an explosion or getting rid of the problem instantly. Anno's ranged weapons, aside from the pistol, feel like tools, rather than just a different ranged weapon, and to me, feel like they should have their own dedicated button inputs rather than sharing a weapon slot. Anno does have a HUD tool, but you can only use one item at a time, having to scroll to what desired item you want, and is only limited to healing items and a grenade that's honestly not that great. Okay, I'm done ranting about the weapons, I swear. There is an upgrade system that involves computer chips that you can mix and match to upgrade your weapons and armor, but I don't really feel the need to talk about it much more than that, as I did not use this system at all and never at any point struggled with the game's difficulty because of it. Just like the slow pacing of Anno's combat potential, the same could also be said about its story. The plot starts off simple. You are An, a young woman with a unique disease called entanglitis, a mental condition where when provoked, An loses control and acts violently to the people around her, even if it's the people she loves or have done nothing to harm her. This also leaves her fatigued and slowly damages her body. In one instance, her younger brother Ryan was being bullied at school, and this led to her having an episode, severely injuring the bullies and even her own brother by taking out his eye. This causes An to be very afraid of herself and what she can do. So to avoid this happening again, she moves to a different city to be studied by a crazy doctor in hopes to control or cure her disease. Ryan, having feeling guilty, thinks he is the primary reason for her leaving and hears about a miracle cure, a medicine called NG540, and sets off to go find it. An hears about this, finds out he's also getting involved with bad people, and sets off to go save him. This is honestly a simple yet gripping plot that could be expanded upon, potentially leading to many cases of character development and interesting antagonists. The problem is, the writers of this story were not restrained in any way, shape, or form, leading to a bunch of random shit happening, constantly changing the plot, what characters are important, and a bunch of unexplained plot holes that are brought up and never explained fully, or are led on to be important but actually mean nothing at all. This leads to the story being way longer than it had any right to be, and so confusing that most of the time left me more irritated than confused. So much lore is littered throughout this game in the form of emails, news reports, and character dialogue, but it's impossible to know what the main problem is because they keep fucking changing it. One plot point that I can share that doesn't spoil too much is the Mechanist virus. To my understanding, it's a virus that can infect humans and slowly turn them into robots. We see this as An's dad is a robot, and at one point was mentioned to be a human, and other NPCs are shown to have robot limbs that are entangled with human flesh. At one point in the story, An goes to a different part of the city where people with this disease are outcasted, and a large group of them form their own underground society. They have been down there for so long they refer to An as a surface dweller. They ask you to destroy the townspeople that have gone corrupt with some virus thing, and when you do, the town and their leaders set off to relocate and be somewhere safer. And then the Mechanist virus is never brought up again or is held into any regard towards An's sickness or the people around her. Also, why is there an outcast society, yet we see plenty of people in the town with this disease being treated equally, especially An's dad, who mentions nothing about his condition or how it has affected his life. And that's just one example. Shit like this happens constantly. Anno Mutationem is a gorgeous game with a very unique art style that makes the game and its characters very memorable, and has expressive combat that is fun when maxed out. But as beautiful as the shiny coat of paint it has is, underneath it's held back immensely with horrible pacing with both its gameplay mechanics and story, constantly throwing all its ideas at the wall, leaving a huge mess out of something that could have been extremely good. It's the best hot mess I have ever played, and I find it to be a very interesting case study when it comes to presentation and execution. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. That really means a lot to me. This is the end card segment where I just kind of go off script and ramble on about what's been happening. So yeah, I've been trying to make videos faster than 1 month at a time, but I just keep getting caught up in so many different projects, but you know what? They're all good. I recently edited a short film for a competition. It's called A Little Bit of Luck. I'm currently working on the director's cut of that version. So when that's up and ready, I will post it to my social media so you guys could give it a watch if you are interested. My social media is on Twitter. There should be a link of it in the description if I'm smart enough to actually put it there. I've also been editing more stuff for The Pickup, a nonprofit I've been working with. And yeah, it's just been good. It's good to be busy, especially for things that you're passionate about, but I do still want to continue to grow and expand on GalicEnder, as well as my experimental channel, The Life of Ender, where I've been posting all of these highlight videos of me surfing, stuff I've captured at the pickup events. It's all been good. It's all been good. Recently trying to find a new place to move because my lease is about to end, and I want to be somewhere closer to where I work, which honestly is what's taking up most of my time. And if I didn't have to work so much out of the day, I would be able to produce so much more, so much faster. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I really appreciate everybody who is patient and waits for these and comments, likes, and all that stuff. You have no idea like how much that means to me, especially for someone as small as I am. To see interaction with you guys is just, it's really cool. And I want to continue to do this and interact with more people. So thank you so much for watching. The next video that comes out on GalicEnder will be an archives video. I have made that a goal. I've been putting it off for too long. I do have one in the works, but it's currently been put on hold until I can get in contact with certain people to get it finished. But I also have another one on the back burner that I'm not going to shove into full focus unless something else happens. But right now the current plan is to get that episode I had on the back burner out for the next video, which who knows, might take another month, but my goal is to try and do it try and post it in at least 2.5 weeks. But we'll see what happens. I know that you guys that support me will stick around to watch it no matter how long it takes, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. Well, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.